This is the 6-piece modern outdoor sectional sofa. After spending some time with it, I thought it might be helpful to share what I've noticed so far. When I first set this up on my patio, the main thing I wanted to know was whether it would actually feel comfortable enough to use often, or if it would end up being one of those outdoor sets that looks nice from a distance but feels stiff once you sit down. After using it regularly, I can say it feels more like indoor seating than a lot of outdoor furniture I've tried before. The seats are deep enough that I can sit normally for coffee in the morning, but I can also stretch out and lounge without feeling cramped. What I like about this setup is that the 6 pieces give me a lot of flexibility without making things complicated. I moved it around a few times after putting it together. I tried it in an L shape at first, then changed it around when I had people over. That part has honestly been one of the most useful things about it. I didn't realize how much I'd care about the modular layout until I started actually using it. If you like changing your patio setup depending on the day, this kind of sectional makes a lot more sense than a fixed sofa. The seating capacity felt right for a small group. For me, it works well for family hangouts or having a few friends over in the evening. You can fit several people on it without everyone feeling packed together too tightly. At the same time, it doesn't feel oversized if I'm just using it alone with my feet up. That balance is something I was hoping for because some outdoor sectionals either feel too small for guests or too bulky for everyday use. The cushions were another thing I paid attention to pretty quickly. A lot of outdoor cushions look thick but flatten out fast or stay damp too long after rain. These have held their shape better than I expected. They still feel supportive and they dry reasonably well. I wouldn't say they dry instantly, but I also haven't had that soggy feeling that makes you avoid using the furniture after weather changes. That matters a lot in real use, especially if you don't want to bring cushions in every single time. I also notice the frame feels light enough to move without a huge struggle, but not so light that it feels flimsy. That's been useful because I've shifted pieces around by myself a couple of times. Compared to some heavier outdoor sets I've used before, this one is easier to work with. The trade off is that if you live in a really windy area, you'll probably want to make sure the pieces are clipped together well and maybe secure the cushions a bit. That wasn't a deal breaker for me, but it is something I'd want to know before buying. Setup took more time than I expected. That's probably the least fun part of owning this. It wasn't hard in a confusing way, but it was definitely a process. I had to be patient, line things up carefully, and avoid tightening everything too fast. Once it was together, it looked good and felt stable, but getting there took a while. If you're planning to do this alone, just know it may eat up a decent part of your day. With 2 people, it's much easier. One thing I was concerned about before using it was whether the separate pieces would slide around too much. I've seen modular outdoor furniture do that, and it gets annoying fast. On this set, keeping the sections connected makes a big difference. Once they're locked in place, it feels much more like one actual sectional instead of a bunch of chairs pushed together. If the connectors matter to you, I'd pay attention to that part. In daily use, this has been easy to live with. I wipe the frame down once in a while, brush off the cushions, and that's mostly it. Dirt and pollen show up, especially if the cushions are in a lighter color, so it's not maintenance free. Still, it hasn't felt high maintenance either. It just needs normal outdoor care. I'd still recommend using a cover if you want it to stay looking decent over time. That seems pretty true with almost any outdoor furniture, and this is no different. Compared to other outdoor sofas I've used, this one feels more practical than decorative. Some sets focus so much on the look that they forget people actually have to sit on them for a while. This one feels made for real use. It's comfortable enough for longer sitting, flexible enough to rearrange, and simple enough that it doesn't become a project every time you want to enjoy your patio. That said, I don't think this is for everyone. If you have a very small space, 6 pieces can start to feel like a lot. You need to measure carefully, because even a modular set can crowd a patio if the layout is tight. I also think this makes more sense for someone who actually spends time outside and wants a real seating area, not just something to fill a corner. If you rarely use your outdoor space, this may be more furniture than you need. I think it works well for people who like having flexible seating, people who host casually, or families who want one outdoor spot that can handle different kinds of use. I can see it being good for patios, decks, and even larger balconies if the measurements work. If what you want is a comfortable place to sit outside for longer stretches, this setup does that well. My honest takeaway is that it's comfortable, useful, and easier to live with than some outdoor sectionals I've tried before. The main downside for me was the setup time, and I do think you need enough space for it to make sense. But once it's in place, it's the kind of furniture I actually keep using instead of just looking at. If you're considering it and you want something modular that feels comfortable for normal everyday outdoor use, I think it's worth a look. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try to help. Check the comments of this video for a link to see the current pricing of the 6-piece modern outdoor sectional sofa.